So here we are. We have now filled 12 seed trays, 12 standard seed trays, and you can see that on the surface this soil here, this compost, sorry, you can actually see some little silvery reflections, and that is vermiculite. That is a material, a fluffy material that's been mixed into the compost to help with drainage and just kind of lighten it a little bit so that it's easier for the roots to actually get established. This seed compost is actually a soil-based one, so it's a Johnninus-based compost. So it has a little bit of topsoil in it, which hopefully has been sterilised. It generally has to be sterilised, heated up to high temperature to kill any pests and diseases. But that'd be what the compost manufacturer does. Again, you can see that our seed tray has been filled. Well, this one's maybe not been filled quite as deep, quite as full, sorry, but we're looking for about 1 centimetre off the top. The first one we're going to sow, the first seed we're going to sow is this wallflower sugar rush mix. And what we've done is we're going to divide the seed, which comes in this foil pack, and then it's got a little paper thing inside. And we've actually taken half the seed out of here. So we're going to sow this particular packet over 2 seed trays. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and do what's called broadcasting, where we try and basically place out these seeds. If we were going to place them in a line, in a regimented line, and actually space them out exactly, we'd call that station sowing. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and broadcast these. So just going to try and spread this seed over the whole tray and try and get as much space between them so that the seeds can stay in this tray for as long as they can, so that when we have the little seedlings and we want to transplant them, they're actually as big as possible. So it's a bit kind of trial and error. There's different ways of doing it. You could take a pencil, I know this is a pen, but you could take a pencil, you could wet the end of it, and you could actually get contact with the seed, and then you could move it and pop it in. There are little seed droppers you can buy which suck the seed up and then they drop them in. You could use a mechanical seeder as well, which I can show you a video of, and that basically uses a vacuum system and it picks the seeds up and it drops them onto a tray, but it does it in a more regimented kind of way, more like sort of what we call station sowing, so there's space between each one. But this is called broadcasting, and Marlene's going to have a shot at throwing these out on the on the surface. So it's not exact, but I usually go around the edges first and then I try and fill in. So you can see that actually they're dropping and there is a little bit of space. We can always pick the occasional ones up and try and redistribute them if we think they're too close together. But you can see there's a couple of centimetres between these just now, which is great. And like I say, there's a couple that are maybe too close, but we can either decide to leave them together, or we can actually throw them out, pick them out. We can also use a label. Again, sometimes a label we can use to move the occasional one, just nudge them around. So there's one here, we could nudge that over a bit. It's gone under compost now. But it doesn't have to be exact at all, because eventually they're not staying in these trays. Once they germinate and they get a wee bit to a size that we can handle, then we can actually transplant them into pots or trays. These will go into probably 10.5 centimetre pots, and they'll grow on, and then hopefully by the end of, after the October break, towards the end of October, we'll be able to transplant them into their finished positions actually outside, because these are winter annuals. This particular one is a winter annual. Nearly there. Still quite a lot for that tray, isn't it? That's alright. So what we might do, in fact there, I think the spacing is quite good. We'll probably now just go along and we'll just kind of try and space these a wee bit. I mean, you don't want to mess around too much. It's not a huge big deal really if some of these are a wee bit closer. I think what we'll do now is we'll move on to trying to put some vermiculite over the top of them. I think the spacing is pretty good. Right. So vermiculite, as we'll show you in this tub, this is what's called an inert material, so it doesn't actually have any chemicals or anything in it. It's literally just a light fluffy material. It's a silica that's been heated and then broken up, and it's a bit like, I suppose the only comparison to something like cork. You can buy cork like this as well. It's all chopped up, and then it's a nice fluffy material to then put on the surface of your tray. So what we're looking to do is put maybe about 1/2 centimetre covering, and I tend to just get it like this, and then I just cover it just so you can't see any compost, and I just let it flow out my hand nice and gently. So if we cover the seeds too much, they'll basically run out of energy before they get to the top, before they reach the light. So we have to do it this way. I'm now going to ask my young assistant to finish off because I'm trying to hold the camera. It's quite quick once you get the edges done. And we've already got a label prepared, Wallflower Sugar Rush, and Marlene's put our initials on the back and today's date as well, so that helps us when we come to identify these seedlings later on. And what we'll do eventually is we'll just put that label down the side like that just now. We could stick it up the way, but we're going to put some cling film over the top of this. So, have you got water outside? Aha. So what we've been looking at is the different types of rose heads. This is a really fine rose head, so this is ideal just for wetting up that vermiculite as well. So we'll give that a go just now. So we want to make sure that our seed sowing area is nice and dry. This is going to be a kind of wet area down here, so we'll just give this a very, very light sprinkling, just to try and just wet up. Obviously the soil surface is already very, very wet, so this is just to make sure we trap some moisture in this vermiculite as well. So you can see that's a very, very fine rose head. That's perfect. And then what we're going to do now is we can bring it back to the bench, and we're going to just put a line of cling film over the top. But you can see it's nice and wet now. And that's great, it's just over the top. We don't necessarily want to even tuck it underneath because that will stop any capillary action if we do have this, if we ever put this tray on a bit of capillary matting or anything. And that's perfect. If you're going to trap a nice bit of air in there, it's nice and tight, and so once these seedlings come up, they'll be able to grow on a little bit with the cling film on, and then eventually we'll take it off. Okay, so that is basically broadcasting, seed sowing, with vermiculite on top and then some cling film, and then hopefully in about 10 days time, 7 to 10 days, these wallflower will be up. These pansies will take about maybe 14 days for them to germinate. Alright, thank you.